Hello, and welcome to this episode of Workshop Diaries. Today, I'm going to make buttons. So, grab a cup, sit down, craft with me, or relax while I craft. I'm just getting all the stuff that I need, finding it in all my cupboards and where I store it in my small workshop. It is a very small workshop, so I always need to pack stuff away and find it when I need to use it. It's okay. I have a dedicated place to work and I'm very happy about it. I hope all is well with you. No tangles in the yarn, no lost stitches. Everything is running smoothly, I hope. In the small paper boxes, I store the projects of buttons that are not quite ready, where I haven't produced enough yet. Here I have a sample. I love those. I think they're quite pretty actually. I'm going to make resin buttons. I'm going to cast them in a mold. And here you see I mostly cast or produce about 30 to 40 of one kind. Well, they're not similar, but they're alike enough that I can make sets of them. And it takes some time to produce them, so I'm not making all of them in one go. I find all my gear and then, oh yeah, those are pretty as well. I find all my gear and then I sit down for a couple of hours, maybe 3, and make buttons, and then I just see how far I get. I'm not that fast at producing, I must say. I'm quite slow actually, but I do enjoy it. Those are big buttons, one of the bigger that I cast in resin, so I'm not going to need so many of them to have a whole batch. Oh yeah, those. They're quite whimsical, those. I'm a bit excited about them. Bright pinkish. And here are my molds. I have a couple, so I can get a rhythm going. Trying to be just a bit efficient. and my alcohol ink. And now I'm going to try to make them clean with the tissue. The tissue is a bit wet and I'm trying to dry them off. I always forget to do this when I pack it away. So I get what I can out of the mold. Glitter is a lovely thing. It always sticks to everything. But I do love glitter. Anything that shines. But it can be a bit tricky to control because it always goes where it ought not to. Well, that was an extra mold. Actually, I got to use that later. I use a UV light. It's UV resin I use for these buttons. And I use the UV light to harden it. It's nothing special. It's just an ordinary UV light you can buy for nails, actually. And it does the trick. And those small mats, they're quite good to have to work on. They're made of silicone, so the the resin will not stick to it. And of course, my mask. Yeah, well, it's not that healthy inhaling the resin. So I use this mask. It's quite pretty. It makes me look like an alien from Mars or something. So I hope the neighbor won't go in and have a cuppa. She'll die of fright. I get my resin in these flasks and it's already mixed up. It's not anything I do. I just pour it in. So it's quite easy. It's not that difficult. And I like it. So I just put it in the mold. Always do it twice to make one pair of buttons. I make the ground layer first. And in the ground layer I put all the decorations. In the big one, a drop of alcohol ink. This one's a dark pink one. And then I have a small stick, and then I just twist the ink around in the resin. So I get those small squells of the color. So it's not a solid color, it's color that twists around in the button. I like that effect. And the other one, I have these small tiny things, a small flower and some metallic flowers to put in with them. And here I try picking them up with the stick, but no, I need to have my quite big working hands trying to pick up those tiny things. I actually think it's charms or small stuff for nail art that I use for this. You can get so many beautiful and funny things for nail art, but I use them for buttons. As you might see, I produce more of those I already have. It's to up the volume, so I can say, oh, I got a batch I can work with to get ready for the shop. And now we're going to make the quite bright pink orange type. There's not so many squirrels, but it's not totally even in the color, and I do appreciate that. And this one, look how bright it is. In this one I have a small amount of purple glitter. I don't know why, glitter is so marvelous. There's something magical about it, I think. There is for me. I like shiny things. And then twist it around again. And of course, all over the place. For days I will now find glitter everywhere. In my face. Of course, because I had some on my fingers, and then I touch my nose or something, and then I get it in my eyebrows. You know, you always have fun with glitter. Yeah, a very nice close-up of my hand there. Please enjoy. I only make buttons from the 5 biggest molds. I think I tried it once at the smaller ones, and I thought they came out too small. I do have a yarn universe. I mostly use buttons for a yarn project, and those small ones, they somehow get too small. They just drop through. So I don't think I can use those, so I don't make them. Please leave a comment if you think I should try making a batch of those. And in this smaller one, I have a rosy color. Oh, sorry. I don't know if you can hear that, but I have sirens outside the window. And then I have 2 stones. Simile stones, of course. Would have been nice if they were real diamonds, but I can't afford that. Sorry. Yeah, well, I do have a lot of sirens here. I live in Aarhus, the second largest city in Denmark, and it's not that far from one of the biggest hospitals. So sometimes I have sirens out here. Let's see, the last one here, a drop of alcohol ink. It's brown. It's a very, very dark brown, almost black. And a touch of blue glitter. I like the effect of that. Very, very dark, and then inside a blue that just pops. But they have been quite tricky to make because it's a small button, and sometimes there's too much ink in there, and ink is not hardening in the same way. So sometimes it comes out with ink leaking out everywhere, and that's not good. Yeah, well, now I'm trying to start a fire. Oh, no, of course not. It's for popping all the air bubbles. When I take the lighter and just, almost start a fire. It's not a good idea to make a fire on the mold, but it happens sometimes. And then I need to put it out, and I do. But it bursts. All the air bubble bursts. It's not nice to have too many air bubbles. I can live with one blob of air. It is handmade. I'm not perfect. I'm not going for perfect. People know when they buy these of me that they're handmade. I'm not reselling something here. And while one of the molds are in the UV light, I prepare the next mold. Yeah, I think it's time for a sip of that good coffee I have with me. Nice. And you can see that I make those twirls. I don't know what it is with me and buttons. I just love buttons. It is the dot over the I on projects. You can change the whole vibe of a project, that's my feeling anyway, with the buttons. If you have an earthy button, you make the whole project that vibe. If you have a whimsical button, you make the whole project just a bit whimsical. So I feel the buttons are the dot over the I and an accessory that helps set the tone. And somehow there's, for me anyway, yeah, well, see, and then I turn it, yeah, I need to turn it, because if there's something dense, a dense color, or some of the stuff, the nail, the art stuff that I put in, if that's too dense and the light can't get through it, the resin doesn't harden. But yeah, back to the buttons. They're kind of magical for me. I don't know why. Perhaps it's something from my childhood, actually. Sadly, both my grandmothers are dead. They died high of age. And some of the things I inherited were some of their small things. They were both lovely ladies. I loved them to death. And they crafted. They were so good at crafting. They made beautiful things with yarn and sewing, especially my grandmother on my father's side. She sewed a lot. And some of the things I inherit from both of them were small metal boxes. I'm not sure what was in those boxes originally. But I inherited small metal boxes. And in those metal boxes were buttons. And I remember being quite a young child, sitting with one or more of those metal boxes and going through all the buttons, sorting them in size, color, a pile of those I loved most. And those were the ones with color or a flower on, or those of mothers of pearl, you know, those small shirt buttons that had that shine to them. Or I sorted them in piles, those with 4 holes, or those with 2 holes, or those buttons, you know, with textile covered. with one loop on the back to sew them on. Love those. And in that way they became like small gold coins. I actually remember playing with my sister where we used buttons as coins, and we played small shop selling each other stuff. I have lovely memories of buttons. And they had a lot of buttons, my grandmothers. They were both young in the Second World War, so they have learned in the hard way that nothing must go to waste, because you don't know if you can get anything. There was a shortage of about anything around Second World War, under and after Second World War. You couldn't get anything. So they saved buttons. If you had a garment that couldn't hold itself together anymore, even though it's been mended 1,000 times, you went over it and you clipped off all the buttons and saved those. And that way you had boxes of buttons when you needed them, and you could reuse them. I think it was a beautiful thought. So those small metal boxes are now mine, and I treasure them. I think I'm not the only one with those kinds of memories. And then the lighter. And all this time, just imagine, I'm sitting with that beautiful mask that you saw earlier, really looking smart, like a Martian. But I think it's necessary. Beside that, I have an air freshener and a door for the balcony open to make sure that I have a good airflow in and around. And here you see some of the mess that's necessary when I craft. I'm always messy. I don't think I know how to craft without being a bit messy. And now I fill it up. This is the second turn. The first the bottom layer has been hardened by now, so now I need to fill it up to make sure I have a whole button. I do this to make sure that every layer get hardened, and somehow to capture the things I put in. If you look at this one, I have small nail art in there. There you can see a bubble. See that? There's a small air bubble there. And then I put on a second layer. And now I come with the lighter. And blop, it's gone. So that's what it does. Did you see the bubble disappear? So yeah, I need to fill the mold up. That's one of the things I really work on. It's hard to get a 100% plain back on these buttons. It always get a bit wonky. But I think it's okay because it is handmade. If you want perfect, you need to buy mass produced. Oh yeah, look, I put a bit much in that one. It does level itself some because it's fluent, but and it's not every button I mold that I feel is good enough for selling. And here we are, taking this one out, putting another one in. And my clumsiness. But it turned out okay. I didn't spill anything. And then while that one is hardening under the light, I fill up the next one. So I get into kind of a rhythm. But as you see, I'm not the fastest one, but I do enjoy the process. It's nice. It's quite relaxing. But do bear in mind, this is not a tutorial. I do not do tutorial. I don't feel I'm good enough. I'm not an expert. Not by any means. I make buttons. They work, but they're not perfect. So if you need a tutorial because you think, oh, you would love to try this, I would recommend trying it. I find it relaxing and fun, and you can do so many things. But there's lots of very talented people who already made tutorials about how you produce just about anything in epoxy resin and in UV resin. So please find one of those videos. Do hope you have found something relaxing to do. I would love to hear about your crafting. So please leave a comment. Tell me what you craft. Do you knit? Do you crochet? Or are you one who plays with resin? Please let me know. And in under the light it goes. I quite have the feeling that the bright pink one is a bit fluorescent, actually. It's almost like it's lighting up under the UV light. Yeah, well, now it's actually finished being. And here we are, the fluorescent one, sticking a bit to the mold under the light. Seems a bit sticky, so we'll see. And here we are with the dark brown one with the blue glitter. And one more go. And then we start all over, doing it again. And as I said, before you know it, you used a couple of hours doing this. Dark pink, alcohol ink, the stick twirling, not too much, not too little. Make those tiny squirrels. Next button. In this one, I'm going to put a paper flower and those. They were white and brownish. Just a small one, and then some golden flowers. They're just like confetti or something, but they're golden. And then I put those in, 2 of those, and then to stick, to make sure that they go under, not quite to the bottom, but they need to get wet. They need to get their feet wet. There we go. And the fluorescent one. Again, the stick, turning it. Lots of squirrely, more is solid, but not quite. It's a strong color, that one. Strong color. And then the pink, no, not pink, purple glitter is going in there. There you are. Air bubble. And the 2 smaller ones. First the one with the very dark brown. Not too much ink. I learned my lesson. Many of these I need to cast aside. They wouldn't work because they got, the ink didn't get embedded, so it was all over the place. but I do like the vibe of those. So I carried on. I needed to find the solution to it. And see, I really try to mix it in. You could make a portion of the UV resin in a small bowl, or I have some silicone bowls I could mix it in and mix the color in there. The trouble is, I only make that particular color in that small button, and it would be hardened before I got to use it. So I tried that. I didn't get a good result, so I went back to this method. Just watching not to put too much alcohol ink in it, or it would get sticky and greasy. And now the small diamonds. Yeah, well, I put a diamond. Yeah, and that one. As I say, it sometimes gets messy. No diamonds in there, just in the one next door. I solved it. That's why it's good to have some kitchen towels nearby. And now, making sure that all feet are wet in the resin. Actually, I should be wearing gloves doing all this. I should. I know I should. But with all those small things that I need to fix and touch and put in, I need to have some feeling. And I feel I lose feelings in my fingers. So it's quite harder if I put on too much glove. And here we are. This is the result. I got those done. There's a batch there. Look at those. Aren't they beautiful? The dark brown. And inside it, and you can see there's a twirl. It's not a solid color. And inside there's sparkles of blue. I absolutely adore it when it works. I love it. It's magical. But as you can see, rough edges, so not done. There's a whole process after this. I need to polish it, shape it, drill the holes. And this is an experiment. I have this mold of a butterfly, and I'm trying it out, see if it works. I'm not done with it now. I've casted it with some, well, it almost looks like candy. And the next step for those, are they too big? Are the edges too rough? Is it going to catch the yarny threads? Can I drill holes in them and make it work as buttons? Does it need 2 or 4 holes? But that's an experiment. The experiment is not done. I need to figure that out. Right now, all of this is going into my pipeline of things that I need to finish. Thank you for watching. Do remember to like and subscribe.